It's me, Narisse, and it is almost 6:30 in the morning. Yeah, I hope you all are doing well. I just got up to be a cat mama and make sure my fur baby was good. Yeah, um, there's been like a lot going on in my life, therefore a lot going on in the world. Um, and I'm just trying to figure this thing out one day at a time. Um, Hope you all are doing well. Hope you all are taking care of yourselves and, staying prayed up out there if you are a person of faith. Um, yeah, staying healthy through the cycles of life. I made a live stream 2 days ago, just kind of like talking about just everything that's been going on in the world and just all the circumstances that's been happening and just like certain events in my life and how, I don't know, how they all, I don't know, reflect in a way. And I'll just be transparent. I mean, I don't know how to be anything other than that. I don't know how to not keep it real, even if it may bother some people. But at least I was telling the truth and being transparent. Um, you know, I would love to live in a world under normal circumstances where what I do can just like ripple out positivity. And I would love to be in a space where I can give back and be of service. But these last few years, well, I mean, there have been times where I've been able to like make time and energy to be of service when really I needed to like focus on taking care of myself and just like figuring out my own life because my life is not normal circumstances. Um, but there's a part of me that cares a lot about like people and the world and what goes on. And I mean, I feel like I've even said this point, and it's hard. It's hard to be a person that cares and wants to give back and wants to save the world and save everybody while during times where it feels like no one's listening to you and no one cares to save you and the very people that you want to save are attacking you and hindering you from your freedom. It's hard to balance that. You have to be a special kind of person to navigate that space. And I've done it for a long time, but it's not without emotional cost. It's not without it being strenuous to my spirit. Because it's like it's but so much you can give to a world that feels like it doesn't want you to be there without you being frustrated and tainted and, you know, upset. Now, like I've said in several live streams in recent years, I've been working on like my frustrations with the world and just like frustrations with like politics and just certain things going on and and how I react to that. Because even in being a person that feels oppressed to a system, sometimes I forget my power. Sometimes I don't even know my own power. And after years of objectification, emotional, spiritual abuse, being silenced, deliberately being misunderstood, because some people will go out of their way to misunderstand you because they don't care to hear your perspective or care to know your side and will go out of their way to just make you the villain. And going through years of that takes a toll on anybody, you know? And it gets to a point where it's like, okay, you want to do the right things, you want to be the bigger person. But it feels like when you do the right things and you're the bigger person, people walk all over you. When you're the nice guy, that's why they say nice guys finish last, right? And I've spent many years being the nice guy. You know, I've spent a lot of time being the person trying to be likable and trying to be understood and accepted by people and, you know, being accepting of others. And speaking of being walked on, but she's my acceptable monster. That's why baby's had a bit of a morning. Um, you know, it's a lot to deal with, you know, and I feel like it's easy for people to sit back in their own lives and, you know, and I'm not saying people don't have their problems. Everybody has their circumstances. But it's easy for people to sit back in their own lives and point the fingers and tell you what you should do and how you should handle a situation and how you should respond. And don't get me wrong, there's definitely like some valuable like advice in in those circumstances sometimes. Um, but you know, it's one thing when it's like constructive criticism, and it's another thing where it's like being condemning and like looking down upon and being judgmental. And you know, it's easy to like sit back and point the finger and tell someone how they should handle a situation when you haven't even dealt with the things that they've had to overcome on a day-to-day basis for weeks at a time, for months at a time, for years at a time, especially when in circumstances where they were groomed to be the punching bag to everyone's success. Even to people who don't want to play play that. It's like, I don't even wanna punch you, but I have to for me to be safe. But imagine being in a space and environments where that's constantly happening to you, even amongst the people who don't want to, but they feel like, in order to be cool with these people or to not be a target myself, I have to, make you the scapegoat just for my own self-preservation. I get that, but that doesn't stop the circumstances from being hurtful. Like, it's but so much abuse you can take as one person when it's coming from every direction, even from your allies and people who support you and want to see you do well and are looking out for you, are put in situations where hurting you is the norm. And somehow, some way, you're supposed to have like quality emotional intelligence to withstand that for long durations of time. And at some point, it gets to a moment where you question if it's even like worth like being a part of or existing in a world like that. Because what's the point, you know? And normal things that people dream of, like having kids and getting married, it's like those are things for people that live under like normal situations. I mean, there's people who make it work in like the trenches. How, I don't know. But when your constant reality feels like it's a given that you're not supposed to feel safe, why would you want to bring children into a world like that? If I'm supposed to be a parent and raising children and giving them the tools to navigate this world in hopes that they mature and grow into people that find success or just happiness in existence, but you can't do that in your own life. Why would I want to birth children into a world like that? And I know that's not like forever. And I know that's not always a reality if you don't see it that way. But, just understand that perspective that trauma can have a lasting effect on someone where you have to just accept ridicule and abuse, even from the people who don't want to do it to you. Like, from that bookmark of experiences, what tools am I supposed to give a child that to navigate a world? Like, oh, by the way, you might be in a circumstance where like even the people who love you have to hurt you and you just have to take it. I refuse to let that be a thing that I pass down to anybody. And it starts with it ending with me. But how? When there's these systemic and demonic structures that govern society. And most people don't know about it, and a lot of people do. and that can sound like conspiracy and propaganda or whatever you want to call it, but it's real. And everyday people expect you to just handle this shit. Like, why would you react like this? Why would you handle this situation like this? Why would you do this? It's like, until you live, are born, hold on, until you are born and are grown up in structures like this, when you deal with people who are your handlers and not your community, and people who raise you up to siphon your energy under the guise of love, then come talk to me about how I should handle circumstances, because that is the ultimate mind fuck. And then waking up and realizing that the people that you've been loving are playing you, and the people that you've been supporting and showing up for and protecting, defending, sacrificing time and energy and money for are really just playing in your face. Sometimes, literally, under certain domestic situations. I'm not saying that happened to me, but I'm just saying that that's what some people may go through. Like, I just feel like it's not really comprehending to people how, like, treacherous this shit is. And I'm grateful I don't look like what I've been through. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's like, well, you're handling this, you know. I don't know. It's like it's a balance of, like, I feel like I'm handling it better than most people would, but then at the same time, like, I do let my rage get the best of me. And I have outbursts and frustrations, and I know I need, like, help with that. I know, like, I don't know if it's therapy, if it's like yoga, I don't know, something. Uh, you know, um, it's a lot. And and I'm not gonna act like I'm someone who doesn't care about what people think. I do, but mainly as it pertains to people who have taken time to, like, be understanding to my situation, and and be helpful. Because I get it that there's just some people that's just gonna hate on you just to hate on you because that's just what they like to do. And like I said, there's some people that are hell bent on just misunderstanding you regardless. But, when it comes to, like, folks who support you in any way or even consider your perspective or what you go through, I do value that perspective. I do value those opinions. One, because, like, I'm an artist, right? And as an artist, you know, you want to be somebody that's confident in your own work and what you do and what you put out into the world. But there is a part of you that wants to be accepted and received and appreciated and your work admired by people, right? Not necessarily as like a self-esteem thing, but just as, like, I created this thing and I'm really proud of it and I hope people like it. And then, of course, if some people don't, it's fine, but, like, you want it to be received well. I feel like that goes for, like, most people in this world. You want to be accepted. You want to be seen and understood, and you want to know that you put out something that is um a representation of yourself, that you want to be successful. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you do, like, if even if you work somewhere. Like there's a part of you that wants, you know, hopefully to do what you do well and for it to be seen as something that you do well. So, um, you know, sometimes if you don't get it right, of course, that's going to be something that um would make you feel away. And it's something that makes me feel away. And I'm able to take constructive criticism, and I feel maybe some people think that I'm not because I can be really sensitive. It's just a matter of how it's the message is delivered to me, you know. Um, and I can understand if people can be like frustrated by me um in any way. I get that. Um, I don't like for that to be a thing, but I can understand it. Um, and I know sometimes I have said or like done something that could be like offensive or hurtful, or maybe it's like the lack thereof. Maybe I don't say enough. Or maybe there's just certain circumstances that happen that people feel my energy is responsible for. Um, and you know, and I will say, like, in those circumstances, a lot of times, just because, like I've said, leading up to this point, is like, just all the things that I've gone through. I'm so ingrained in being in a space of defense, right? Just feeling like I constantly have to defend myself, energetically defend myself, spiritually defend myself, defend my word, defend my honor, defend my narrative. Like I'm constantly in the state of like, how do I defend my right to exist? That's oftentimes where I'm coming from. And even in situations where, like, maybe the best course of option is to like apologize and like take responsibility. The only reason why like I haven't done that a lot these days is just because I feel like at a time where again I was in that space of feeling like the nice guy finishing last, I felt like I was constantly apologizing and constantly taking accountability and taking up different crosses, even crosses that might not be my own. But just because, like, I just want to do the right thing. I just want to please people. I just want people to just like put down their pitchforks, and leave me be. And so if me apologizing a million times has to be that, then so be it. But I got to a point where I was like, it's not enough. I know if I constantly apologize, and I'll constantly be the scapegoat. And I know there's certain instances that's not my fault. And, and then so lately I've just been in a space of like constantly being on defense. Like, okay, in this situation, how do I defend myself now? There's obviously more going on than what's being shown on the surface. And there's obviously more of what's going on than I even know of how to like be a conduit in a situation. There's people who know how to like use you as a pawn better than you know how to express yourself. So, I'm always trying to dissect what's really going on in a situation because there is always something else happening. You know, it's like going grocery shopping for like oodles and noodles in the Asian section and noticing that there's like a hike in the pricing, right? And knowing like, damn, this is more expensive than this was before. Like, what's the problem? But then you realize, okay, this is the Asian section. There's a tariff war going on with US and China. So there's a connection. There's always some bigger thing happening compared to what situation I'm going through in my reality. So I know like whatever little issue is showing up in the micro of my situation, there's always a bigger thing happening. you know? And I'm like, I'm dealing with this situation, but I'm like, okay. There's some type of like company at war. And this is probably why it's affecting what's happening with what I'm seeing in front of me as it pertains to me just trying to shop. You know, I'm just trying to buy products. But what's really going on in the background is this corporate situation is, you know, trying to push their company, you know? So like I have to think about situations like that. Um and I mean most people should, you know, it's easy to just be distracted by the things that you see in the surface. Yeah. It's easy to be distracted by the things that you just see in the surface and without really seeing the big picture. When you zoom out and you realize like, okay, this little situation is just a piece of this bigger thing that's happening. And most people get caught up in the little thing. And I'm like, okay, but let's look at the full picture. Let's look at everything that's happening here and what all is tying into this and why this is even happening in the first place. And I feel like I'm constantly in that space. I'm constantly trying to figure out, like, okay, what's the bigger picture? Because I know it's more than just what y'all talking about, you know? And I from that space, it, yeah, I oftentimes look at a world where I'm constantly on defense and I have to like try to prove myself and prove what all is happening, even though I don't really know everything that's happening. I'm just, you know, just trying to play the game of life and not realizing that certain structures in space in place, certain situations are dismantling. And it's not like that's your goal. That's not your plan. That's not something that you deliberately want to do. Um, and it's like, okay, how do you feel about that? You know, because like I said in my other live stream, like I feel like something's constantly happening. There's always a bigger picture thing. There's always something. And I'm one just trying to get better at not overreacting. And two, try to understand what all is the bigger picture thing. Cause I know I'm like, there's something bigger than what we're just seeing here. And two, like, okay, what is the solution? Like, you know, like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to help? How can I help? Can I even help right now? Am I supposed to help? Or is it better for me to just like step back? Because maybe people don't want my help. Maybe people are going through their emotions and their feelings, and maybe a word from me isn't what they want right now. Maybe a reaction from me isn't wanted. You know, maybe even if I say all the right things, somehow, some way, it may come off insensitive to people. So maybe my silence is probably better than me overreacting and potentially saying the wrong things, you know? It's not like I have a publicist, you know. But sorry, you know, cat mom life. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm just trying to like figure this whole thing out. You know, like my thing is like under normal circumstances, like I don't want to see people hurt in this world, you know? And I mean, and that's why I say under normal circumstances, because in situations like I said, where I'm constantly like in defense and like feeling like I'm just like fighting just to get by, constantly in battle with the world. And being in that mindset at a constant, there's definitely moments where I've had like outbursts and just, said things that aren't kind, that can be a bit chaotic and destructive and hurtful. And for those things, like, I apologize if anything that I've said has ever like triggered anybody or offended anyone. Um, it's not like that's what I want to do in the world. Like, I don't wake up aiming to hurt people. The only way or reason why I would be in that space is again out of defense, out of feeling like, oh, this person hurt me, so I want to hurt them back so they feel what I'm feeling. And maybe they'll leave me the fuck alone. That's usually where it stems from. It's not like I deliberately want to see people get hurt, you know? Um, I really want the best for us all. I really want us all to be safe and to like prosper. And I feel like anybody that's followed me long enough should know that. Like, there's many times where I try to like even be compassionate to the people that I'm upset with. And of course, in moments where I feel under attack, yeah, I have an outburst and I say like some shit that's probably crazy. But under normal circumstances, my default, when I'm relaxed, when I'm calm, where I can just like navigate the world from a genuine space of just existing and feeling safe, I genuinely want the best for us. I really care. Um, and it's hard trying to like be on that balancing act of wanting to be compassionate, wanting to be the bigger person, wanting to be a good person, whatever that's supposed to be. And then also at the same time, like be battle ready and battle tested and strong and, um, just being on guard, being ready to go toe to toe with whatever comes my way, you know, and being in a space of like, oh, okay, so this situation that I thought was safe presented itself to not be safe. So I've been through too much to back down. So you gonna get this smoke from me. Like it's not just gonna be like a easy, oh, we just about to push her around type thing. Like, no, you're gonna have to fight for this. If I gotta fight, you gotta fight. We all about to fight type shit is how I be feeling at this point in my life. And it's really interesting because like anyone who really knows me, especially like my family who have grown up under tougher circumstances, who've been in like real fights growing up, real, scuffles in school and stuff like that. Or like, I didn't grow up in that space. I grew up pretty sheltered for the most part. And, it's funny because I think about this time where I was out with my cousin and we were at a bar and they was fighting in the back and I'm like, oh my gosh, can they just get it together? Like, why do we have to fight to solve our problems? This and that. And she like, girl, shut up. And like, because like, and mind you, she grew up in Newark. I mean, I grew up in Trenton. So like, I mean, both are the trenches. But like, I didn't go to like Trenton High or anything like that. I went to private schools. And even the schools that I went to that were kind of like inner city, it was like charter schools. And we didn't have fights like that. Maybe every now and then. But it wasn't like a constant where certain people whose experiences were like really the trenches. So she's used to fights and people like, and sometimes that's just how you solve the problem. You just got to tussle it out. It is what it is. And me, I'm just like happy go lucky, like, peace be among us all, type. And that's literally how I grew up. I grew up, funny enough, my dad would call me the peacemaker. or whatever. Maybe there's more meaning to that than I realize, but I would be the one that would want everybody to just get along, especially either when my cousin and my brother would argue, which is funny enough because they would be arguing, going at it sometimes, maybe. And then both would come to me and then vent their side of the problem. And I would just be there like burning sage, like, uh-huh. Just trying to clear the vibes, clear the energy, like, have them relax. I'm like, do you need a little weed? Because this is when I was smoking weed at the time. I'm like, you need a blunt? Because that's what it sounded like to me. Like, it sounded like you need a blunt, you know? And that's just how I was, at the time, because I wasn't battle tested then. I haven't had to go through the stuff that I've had to go through in these last few years. And they were more about that life than I was about that life. So, after like all the things that I've been through now I get it. I'm like, yeah, sometimes you just gotta let a bar fight happen, and it is what it is. But I understand in some instances, you can't always approach every situation like that. And I'm learning. I'm learning this, because like I said, these last few years, I've been on defense, trying to like be the bigger person, still be the peacemaker, and still feeling walked all over until I got to a point where it's like, Narice, you're gonna have to fight back. You're gonna have to let these people know, like, you're not one to just be played with. Even if you lose the battle, at least you swung, and they know, like, all right, look, okay, it's a little something with this one, and yeah, that's what it is with me at this point. And sometimes when I swing back, it's not a good result, and I can admit that. And I know that sometimes, even though I feel like small in this world, I'm more powerful than I even know. And sometimes that can have a really bad effect. And, it's not what I mean to do. I really just mean to like defend myself and just fight up against the things that are interfering with my freedom in this world. And, I really hope that that's understood. And, of course, like when things happen, like, know that it's not that I want those things to happen. And, I don't want to like offend people or hurt people or anything like that, deliberately. It's not like I wake up wanting to see people in pain. Like, no, I really want us, like I said, like I grew up from a space of like wanting to see us all get along. I even hate the fact that people were fighting, tussling at a bar, But in these last few years, I realized like the world is not like that. Like yeah, people fight. People, and then not only that, but on the spiritual aspect, there's so much more going on that even I don't even understand, you know? Yeah, the warfare is spiritual. And, I don't always understand it all. I just know that it's a lot going on. And sometimes I feel like in the midst of like my own life, somehow I'm just like in the middle of these things. And I really just be trying to exist. I really just try to like find space in the world where I can just like make my art and sing my songs and just live my life where I can like make some money for myself and then be in a position where I'm stable. So therefore I can give back to people and I could be of service and I could be helpful towards other people who might need it more than I do. Because that's really what I want to do more than anything. And and even like I've said, like even in times where I know I needed help and I wasn't in the space to give, like I used my energy to try to help combat things as much as I can. Like sometimes there's circumstances where I feel silenced, but for the little bit of voice that I have in those moments, I'll use my voice to speak out against immigration and what's going on different social groups, even if it's not affecting me, but because I see something that's wrong and I feel like it's wrong. And it's important to call those things out. If I see that somebody's in need, if somebody's hungry, then yeah, sure, I might be struggling, but let me see if I can give back and like help somebody with a meal. If all right, I see this situation going on. If I could donate here, then I'll donate there. And I feel like I don't want that part of me to be misunderstood. Like, I don't care how hell bent somebody is on misunderstanding me. Understand that in my heart of hearts, I really want the best for us all. I really want us all to be well, and I want to do good in this world. And and I understand that there are some sacrifices that have to be made more than I would want to make, and sacrifices that I don't want to make at all. You know, um, yeah. I called this live stream "Acceptable Monsters" because I was going to make a point. I'm not going to make that point in this video because I don't like. I don't know. I feel like this message, hopefully, it came out better than I thought it was going to. Hope, I pray it did. I hope people understand where I'm coming from. I hope people like really have the heart to hear me. And yeah, I'll make that other point later because you know it's I feel like it's a valid point for me to make and say, but it's not going to be something that people want to hear, and I don't think it's the right time to say that. But um yeah, all in all, like there's a lot that's going on in this world. I'm just trying to like find my space in it all. I really want to do the right thing, and I hope that in me existing in this world when things happen, like I hope that people understand my heart more than anything, and more that I don't want to be in a destructive place. I don't want that. Like, I really want us all to be free. I want us all to be safe. I want us all to live our lives the way we want to, and like have the freedom to love, accept, appreciate each other, and for people to not be hurt in the midst of that. That's what I want. And maybe there's more going on than I understand. And it's easy for me to say the things that I say because sometimes I come from a space of ignorance. It's easy to be like macho against like the evils of the world when I don't have to like negotiate with that. you know I don't know, that maybe this is just me being like really strong in my faith, because I'm like, if God be for me, who can be against me? Is really how I move in the world. And even if there's like circumstances where I'm definitely being outsmarted or like out strategized, um, yeah, that happens, you know. However, it's like the heart of it all. Like, I have a lot of heart and a lot of like I'm with the smoke. And if I gotta face the devil head on, then so fucking be it. Bring him out. That's how I be coming. But I know that that's not the approach in every battle. Sometimes you have to lose the battle to win the war, and winning the war requires strategy, and it requires emotional intelligence and not being so easily triggered and baited into rage, which is something that I'm working on. Um, and I'm trying to understand that, because honestly, my whole thing is like I just really want to, wherever the devil and Satan and all his people is, that's what I want to tear down. And I feel like if you understand me and what I stand for and how I show up in this world, I feel like that should be understood. But doesn't mean that I always get that right. But that's ultimately where I come from because I believe in God and I believe in Jesus and I believe I'm a child of God and I believe that even in moments where I feel like alone and I feel like maybe like God's forgotten about me, like I know I'm not without angels because I could not have gotten this far without that. I could not have gotten this far without angels and help from the other side. Like there's no way. Like as much as I know that I just have the willpower to push through a lot of it. I know there's times where like I know I need support and I'm learning to be comfortable with being vulnerable enough to say like, hey, I need support in this moment because I'm not feeling the best and I don't know what to say and I don't know how to handle the situation, but like I need a shoulder. And for a long time I didn't have that. For a long time I just had to just tough a lot of this stuff out and you know, and sometimes I'll even forget to pray. Or sometimes I'll just have prayers going even if I'm not feeling like I believe it in that moment. And I don't know if my angels are with me, but I know if there's people coming up to attack my angels and attack the prayer or try to stop me from praying, then I know something got to be working. Um, you know, but yeah, I know I couldn't have gotten here this far without like help and support of a lot of you guys. Um, a lot of y'all who have faith, maybe some who don't, maybe who are here for the shenanigans. um, you know, I know there's like saints and angels and maybe even some ancestors that I don't know that may be helping me on the spiritual side of things. Oh, hold on. I got you, baby. There you go. Hold on, hold on. There you go. No, no, no. You're all right. You did good. Come here. Let me clean you up. You're okay, love. You're good. All right. You're okay. I had to tend to my cat babes. You good? You alright? You're fine. Anyway, um, yeah. Regardless. Um, you know, I know that I couldn't have gone through this journey alone, and I do my best to try to do the right thing. And I don't always get it right, but in the meantime, I know I'm sorry. I'm like trying to comb her hair at the same time. All right, all right. I'll get to you after I'm done. Okay, I'm gonna let you chill for a little bit. All right. Um. Yeah. So yeah, the world is treacherous at times, and you know, it's sometimes it's just depending on the circumstances that you're in when you're like up against the devil and the people who work for him. Being like all love and light is not the solution in a lot of these circumstances. Um, and sometimes it requires you to get down and dirty and have to really tussle with people. And yeah, it's um, it's interesting. And I just hope people understand where a lot of my fight comes from and what I stand for and what I really want out of this world. And I know that there's things that happen that, rub people the wrong way and may frustrate folks. And for that, if there's anything that I do and say that come off insensitive, um, or offensive or hurtful, I'm sorry. I don't want to see people hurt. I don't want to see people in pain. Just please understand what I'm going through and where a lot of that is coming from. And not only that, but you know, I'm really trying my best to balance like doing the right thing and trying to be like of service while knowing that like I need help. And every day is a fight for freedom for me. Every day I'm just trying to find ways to shine my light in a world that's oftentimes trying to control my light and dim it or shine it for their own gain. And that's a lot to deal with. And I'm just one person, just trying to figure this shit out. So, you know, with that said, I hope this is received well. I hope you understand and hear my heart. And much love and much blessings to all of you.